Alright, and we're back, and this is probably not going to show much here, but we are going to be running just with the same picks, and if I'm not mistaken, same lanes are forced at least from the beginning. But sorry for the slight delay, but apparently there's a lot of issues going on right now. A lot of players having lag. I was having lag. Apparently Dota TV, the audio is a little hit and miss right now. I made one little tweak in the background. I'm going to hope it's fixed, but please know that if the audio is screwy, it's not something I think we can help right now. I think it's just the servers being under a heavy load or something along those lines. Either way, Draskell is joining me, if you're just tuning in, and this is our second attempt at trying to get game number 1 of TongFu versus Invictus Gaming in the books. A little bit of server issues, but still, yeah, I mean, they're being forced to run the same lanes, so we'll see how they react. I imagine it's going to be a quick reaction.
I would hope so. I mean, if you think about it, having TongFu sending the AM against a Darkseer is pretty clever, because again, it's not like any mage is going to be worrying about Ion Shell too much, and he's probably going to get 1 rank in his spell shield regardless. They're still going to be doing the same kind of thing, running down there to the bottom lane, just scouting things out, but if the same lanes are forced, I think that's fair, because IG had that strategy going in, and it's a little bit unfortunate if they just remade now. TongFu's like, oh, okay, well, we know what you're going to do now. We're just going to go ahead and change it up a bit to avoid any detrimental start that we would have had. But if the same lanes are forced, then I think that's definitely a good thing. The only question is, like, how quick is it going to be before they can react without it being considered, you know, well, you just knew that was going to happen anyway. You know,
right.
That's kind of the thing where you have to be like, well, can't really enforce it that much because you're inside the game, so...
It is what it is, but these players, these teams, very high in class, very high in integrity. I'm sure they're going to play it out. They'll probably let it go for about a minute, 2 minutes, maybe in that general range. Guarantee Invoker is going to be careful in mid. He got away the first time from the attempted gank attempt. And to IG's credit, they're making the exact same path through the enemy jungle that they did the first time, so not changing that up one little bit. Going to go ahead and throw the ward down. I can already tell there's going to be a little bit of lag just by the way that ward went down. So, not sure what the issue is. Do apologize. It is out of our hands, however. We can only hope you continue to enjoy the experience. Round of 8 here in our monthly Madness Asia tournament. And one of these two teams is going to advance to our Final Four. Final Four is crazy sick, by the way. You can head to itsgosu.com, see the bracket, and find out what's coming your way. We're still waiting to confirm the exact time, set those in stone, but chances are we're going to be playing both semifinal matchups tomorrow, with the finals of Monthly Madness Asia going to be played on Sunday. So make sure you hit follow and you stick with us all throughout the weekend. Going to be a lot of action and a lot of high-level Dota. And TongFu, they just don't care, man. They say, oh, it's fine, you got away the first time. We're still going to be looking to try and gank you coming out. And here comes Veno. He is not going to commit. Is going to pull back, at least for the moment. So, double damage room picked up this time by Faith instead of the Venomancer, and they're going to go ahead and smoke up. So it looks like IG, taking a page out of TongFu's early playbook, wants to get out and get a kill early.
This is the right call. I think they actually spotted a Woke maybe going through the jungle here, and if they don't, that kind of word's not going to see him. It's a little bit too close to the small creep camp, and this is definitely some we don't want you to get any lane advantage warding coming out from IG, because you can't pull the small camp anymore, you can't pull the medium camp at all, and you have rune vision, so they're not going to be seeing anything too surprising. In all honesty, though, this might be a bit of overkill. I mean, they don't want the Animage to get any farm, which he won't. I mean, he's sitting at 0-0. He can't even get a deny to save his life, and I think that TongFu might actually just go ahead and decide to abandon the lane completely and just let CK farm. And you know what? I think this is okay, because oftentimes we've seen lineups where you have 2 heroes that have the really high carry potential, AM and CK in this case, and you can't really keep both of them down 100%. So I think TongFu is going to go ahead and just make the sacrifice on the AM.
Yeah, I would imagine that's going to be the case. We see Faith and Chuan continuing to move around. Haven't really committed one way or the other. They are just going to go ahead and take off and leave Morphling versus Animage for the moment. And we'll see. The move's in pretty low health here. If they can get a good disruption, it could be our first blood. And here they come down from the high ground. Queen of Pain down in the river in a real tenuous position. And IG not going to be able to catch up as she blinks away. Yeah, definitely a little bit of server lag. Are you getting that as well?
I'm actually not lagging this time, thankfully.
Okay. I am just a little bit, but it's not horrible. We should be able to at least continue to bring you the action. The Queen of Pain dodges a bullet there. 2.5 minutes in, still no first blood. Morphling getting real solid farm. 13 last hits, 10 denies. Animage, as expected, sitting on every bit of 2.
Well, this is an interesting position really for IG because if they don't get kills, I think they're going to suffer forward a lot more. And speaking of, we could see a potential first blood bottom.
Yep, looks like Darkseer is going to be in some trouble. And there you go. Chaos Knight pulls the first blood. And that's going to go a long way in making up for how poorly this Anti-Mage is starting. Getting a little bit of gold on the map, or gold on the board, I should say. And they're really going to have to capitalize. If they're going to, oh, speaking of, Anti-Mage is going to be burrow struck. Oh, disruption! Barely short. Unable to get Anti-Mage before he can blink away. Faith and Chuan, though, are circling around the backside. They may want to dive. And they do. Anti-Mage is going to be chased into the woods. Chuan leading the way. And forcing the blink all the way into the woods as Hal continues to kind of tunnel himself in. In the meantime, Morphling is beginning to bang on the tower, and they may just go ahead and take this tier 1 tower right off the bat.
This is kind of their only option because if you think about it, ganking a Queen of Pain, even with the lineup that IG has at low level, like the Sand King's initiation range isn't that great. They're going to catch out Hao here a little bit, but I'm not entirely sure if they're going to be able to do anything with it unless he gets mana burn tremendously, and oh wow, he might actually die.
Yep, he is going to be picked off, and yeah, he has no mana. There's another death on the board, make it 1-1. TP reaction canceled. IG continues to dominate this top lane down on bottom. CK doing an okay job. Actually, given how strong a lane he's in, sitting on just 12 last hits, not all that great. I'm sure he'll catch up, but for right now, Invoker and Morphling definitely doing a much better job. Here's going to be a disruption and a soul catcher on Hal. Oh, he's going to be burrow struck on the backside. Here comes Morphling with that waveform, and TongFu going to drop 2 in a row, 2 deaths pretty much as quickly as he could buy a TP scroll. Anti-Mage dies again.
Okay, well that pretty much made up for the fact that they weren't able to kill the Queen of Pain. I mean, all that AM had to do was play passive, and as soon as he got himself into the right-hand side of the jungle, he should have just blinked back, sacrificed the tower, and waited.
Yep.
There's no reason to be over there, because if you get disrupted, the mana burn does go to the illusions, and that's exactly why he died the first time. Second time, he blinked right into his Sand King. It was daytime, too. He had to have vision of that. I mean, that was just a really weird play coming out of this Anti-Mage, so hopefully he can not die again, so his team doesn't have to worry about him becoming a liability, because right now he's 0-2. I actually thought that if IG didn't kill anybody and they only really killed a first-tier tower, that at the very least Hao would be feeling a little bit safer farming, right?
Yeah.
But now that he's died twice, he's pretty much going to have to start doing some creep pulling, and now he can't really go back to the lane at all because he's given golden experience away to IG's tri lane. So now they're looking to be in a pretty good position, I would say.
Yep, it's pretty much going to be on IG when they want to take this tower and how deep they want to push afterwards. Rubik is making his way top, so they're going to be bringing Anti-Mage a little bit of help once this tier 1 tower does drop. CK is caught up in farm considerably now up to 23. That's where he needs to be given the strength of that bottom lane. 31, though, leading the way for Morphling, and you can't allow a Morphling to get this good of a start. A Morphling with this good of a start is as scary as anything you're ever going to see. He can simply rush out an Ethereal Blade, and all of a sudden, those supports that you need to rely on, your Venomancer, your Rubik, they're just literally going to melt. They're going to disappear in a in a wave of damage, and it's going to be 4-on-5 and 3-on-5 the rest of the day.
Pretty much. I mean, it's not even just killing the supports they have to worry about. It's the fact that everybody becomes a decent target, especially with Soul Catcher. You can do that to CK, and YYF might be dying again bottom.
Yep, going to surge his way out. There's a good reality rift, and Veno throwing the ward. Can he get the damage done? Stip. 35 hit points, going to surge, and CK from the backside gets the kill with one last Chaos Bolt. Make it 2-2, so TongFu, given as good as they're getting, unfortunately, the lane matchup, even if they stay even in kills, just isn't going to benefit them. Zhao up to 40 last hits already at 6 minutes. Are you kidding me? Disruption on Anti-Mage. This could be close to a third death. Another burrow strike. He's going to try and blink. And Rubik's going to be there to help. Here's TP reaction from Queen of Pain. Morphling going to have to waveform his way out. Morphing strength to try and stay alive. Faith making a mad dash for the middle lane. Now the focus of TongFu's aggression. Zhao trying to take a little attention away and does manage to do so. And they're going to try and chase him. There's another waveform. And Burrow Strike going to be off the mark. Going to be just a little south of Hal. So everyone stays alive from both sides right now. A lot of damage done, but no kills added to the board. In the meantime, Veno gotta be careful. Yeah, this is probably a dead Veno. Yeah, this is definitely a dead Veno. He's gonna get off a Venomous Gale, but yeah, that was just kind of goofy. He had to know where everyone on IG's side happened to be. There was a big battle in the forest, and just continued to stay down in the river. Had to know they were gonna be, at least a couple of them were gonna be heading that direction. Make it 3-2, favoring Invictus Gaming.
It's pretty uncharacteristic from both teams to them playing like this. The Queen of Pain poured it in and screamed absolutely nothing. The Sand King missed his Burrow Strike, and then the Venomancer dies when there was a team fight literally one screen away from where he was standing because 4 heroes from IG were sitting up there. I'm kind of scratching my head over here. I'm not really used to this style of play coming out from either team, and both of them are very high respected, very, very high skilled teams. But so far, seeing a lot of kind of clunky mechanics at the very least, I would say, out of both of them.
Yeah, I would imagine lag's got something to do with it. It's definitely affecting my screen, seeing a lot of delayed graphical reactions and that kind of thing. Not a lot of running in place and that sort of thing, but it is what it is. Still fun to cast, 3-2. We'll take our first look at the gold graph, see where things happen to stand. About 3,000 gold differential between these two teams. That's going to be favoring IG. No surprise there. And again, Morphling at this point, whenever you have a Morphling that gets this many last hits this early, I mean, he's fallen off a little bit just because he had a little bit of wasted time due to that team fight in the jungle. But sitting on 42 last hits, and we're still short of 9 minutes. It's a big problem. It's going to be a much bigger problem unless CK can catch up. I mean, he's pretty close, 36. And he's got a kill on the board as well. But with Animage struggling so much against the tri-lane that was thrown against him up top, I don't know that CK is going to be enough to carry TongFu much through to the mid-game.
Well, you can't really underestimate a CK, man. I mean, you really only need 1 or 2 damage items on that hero, and you're talking like 600-700 damage crits once you get a couple of levels up. So he can still kind of make it to the late game for his team, I think.
Yeah.
He might have to get something like a BKB if he wants to remain completely safe and allow the AM enough time to become that much of a threat. But yeah, AM's 0-2 right now. He does have 17 last hits, which in all honesty isn't too bad considering he was up against a tri-lane for the majority of the start. But IG right now is looking really, really strong, and they're out farming just by virtue of having a tremendous CS score in comparison to TongFu at the moment. They do have 1 tower, which gives them, I don't know, probably roughly half of their gold lead at the moment. But they're doing really well, so I think if they can keep up this kind of momentum they have and make sure the AM stays down, they're going to be in a pretty good spot.
TongFu perhaps setting up to try and catch someone out. Rubik is here, and yeah, CK's here as well. Let's see, they may make a run at this Morphling. He's got support not far away. TongFu moving through the south, west side of the jungle. We're going to have TP reaction in, Invoker's here. Now the cat barks at the dog, and they're going to charge through their own jungle. They're going to find a CK. And there we go. There's a disruption. Tornado way off the mark. Soul Catcher is out. Cold Snap, Burrow Strike, dead CK for sure. And they're going to get a courier too. Oh, wow. Very unfortunate. And that's a huge swing. To have CK drop after wasting that much time out of lane, losing farm alone and not getting a kill for it. Then he dies. Then they lose the courier. 4-2 is what the kill score says. That gold graph is going to swing pretty damn violently.
This is a really, really bad situation for TongFu. Not only the fact is their AM pretty much countered in the early game, he's still kind of semi-countered in the late game. Again, Soul Catcher, you have to worry about the Disruption Illusions burning all his mana, not to mention a Replicate. There's going to be 3 Illusion AMs you have to fight against.
Yeah.
Queen of Pain and the AM, not to mention Rubik, are going to suffer like tremendously from that. So I don't know, man. I think TongFu might have just been slightly outpicked here, letting the Darkseer go as early as they did. I mean, I'm not even accounting for him, and the AM and the CK are going to be very, very hard-pressed to try to carry this game alone. They're going to need...
Morphling just about 1v1'd AM down, by the way. Came very close to getting a kill there.
They're going to need something, man. I don't know what TongFu's going to do, but they have to make it happen fast because right now IG isn't feeling uncomfortable in any lane. They can pretty much play as aggressively as they want, and that's basically a triple lane loss for them. I mean, the Darkseer even has a decent amount of CS. He's actually the 3rd highest in the game, higher than anyone on TongFu, and he was in a 1v3.
I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like that CK spending all of his time in the jungle right now. He's falling further and further behind. He was just about caught up with Morphling. Now he trails 61 to 38 last hits. He got a death for his trouble, spending his time roaming around in the lanes. And given they already have one carry who's extremely underfarmed, I don't know that they can afford to lose much more farm on their secondary carry that they're going to be relying on to get them through the mid-game. And he is going to go ahead and head mid now. And this is a little bit better. This I can understand. Hang on, down in the river. Got a little bit of an engagement. Burrow Strike going to allow Chuan to get back to safety. Faith is there waiting on the high ground for him. Here comes Darkseer as well, making his way to the side. So, a little blood spilled, but no kills added to the board. But yeah, I mean, it's not out of hand completely, but an Anti-Mage with this poor a start, we're at 12 minutes. He has 28 last hits. He's basically less than half of where he wants to be under normal circumstances. CK now setting up shop in mid, but this is just going to make him very, very susceptible to ganks if he decides to stay here. That, or he's just going to have to continue to wander around and lose out on farm.
Well, I think he really needs to just try to find a lane to sit in to get something like a BKB going, or maybe even an armlet to give him some kind of damage. And Queen of Pain might be in trouble here too.
Yep, Queen of Pain is going to take a little bit of damage. So far, though, no harm, no foul. Soul Catcher's there. Everyone from TongFu and IG beginning to kind of gravitate towards this mid lane now, knowing this is where the game is likely to be broken open one way or the other. IG going to pour it on this mid-tier 1 tower. Kabu and Mu are there. Let's see how much IG wants to commit. 4 heroes there right now. Vino, in the meantime, his push is beginning to push down on this bottom tower. Yeah, we're just going to have TP reaction, so they're not going to overcommit too terribly much. Dyer's courier finally back up. I didn't even see, did he have some? Yeah, he actually had a decent amount of items on him at that time, too. So losing the courier wasn't just the gold and not just the inconvenience, but actually lost them a few items for a few moments as well. 4-2, the kill score, and here we go. Disruption is going to catch Queen of Pain. They're going to have to time this just right. They do. Moo's going to drop, and the courier gets way too far forward once again. Manages to make it out to safety this time. Make it 5-2. Awoke by his lonesome. Actually changed that. Sanqing there with him here in mid. Going to try and hold this tower. Darkseer, in the meantime, is applying some pressure to the tier 1 bottom tower. So IG really just firing on all cylinders. Morphling may be in a little bit of trouble as CK joins up with AM, but is going to make it back to safety. And yeah, I mean, TongFu's doing what they can, but really you just feel like they're one step behind. Like, everything has this little note of desperation to it. Like, they're just kind of searching for a way to get themselves back into things.
They're the ones trying to react to what IG is doing, and whenever you're in a situation like that, if you're leading the pace of the game, you're in a good spot. You don't ever want to be looking at somebody else and see what they're doing. It's like, oh man, we have to react to this, we have to react to that. You want to be like, okay, let's push bottom and make them react, which TongFu can't really do, because they don't have the start that they were looking for. I mean, even the CK, he's just falling off on his farm completely. He's only at 41. Morphling's at 77. Yep. And Invoker and Darkseer both have 64 at this point. I mean, just in terms of overall creep score, it looks like they're a little bit ahead, but I think that TongFu is doing a pretty good job of having the Venomancer and the AM have some semblance of farm, so it's not like that bad. Yeah. But the gold is still going in favor of IG, and it's still climbing in their favor, so it's not even like they solidify themselves a lead. Yeah, that's kind of the problem. We'll see. I mean, as you pointed out, Anti-Mage in this situation may need to build defensively. Like, he's not going to be able to just build the free farm style and hope he gets too terribly late into the game. But I don't know, man. I feel really scared for TongFu right now. And it's whenever you have a team that is, again, you will take a look at the gold graph. It's not completely out of hand. 5,000 gold's considerable, but we're 15 minutes. I mean, one or two big team fights could turn that around. Speaking of top, here we go. And yeah, Anti-Mage going to be picked off again. That's what I was just going to say. It feels like it's so tenuous, as if one or two more kills are going to swing this game completely out of reach. And Anti-Mage dying for the 3rd time now. That's going to be the 4th kill on Shadow Demon. So even though he doesn't have any farm at all, he's certainly getting his experience and getting some gold out of those as well. 2 kills for Sand King. Ferrari was 75 last hits, 86 on Morphling. Those two don't need kills at this stage of the game. It just really couldn't go much worse. And now we're going to have Awoke picked off. Burrow Strike, yeah, he just dies so quickly that help can't even get there. Sanqing was every bit of 10 steps away, but he's just so far behind, he just died immediately to Ferrari and Chuan. Just no hope. Well, I mean, this is the power of having an Invoker mid. I mean, Ferrari didn't even go for the XR build. He just went the Quas Wex, which I totally agree with this game. They're doing everything they can to take away the teamfight potential of the Anti-Mage and the CK just by virtue of having a crazy amount of mana burn. Yep. I mean, they have EMP, triple replicate of the Anti-Mage if they need it. Anti-Mage's mana break's only level 1, but that still burns 28 mana hits, so 3 illusions hitting you. That's what, like 70 some odd mana that they're going to be taking away. Yep. So with that being considered, I mean, he's going to get disrupted again out here just to be very annoying, so Faith is going to keep his mana down. He has to blink away from disruption illusions, otherwise he's not going to be able to escape ganks. Yep. And now, though, TongFu wants to pay back the favor, chasing Faith out. Rubik did join his buddy, but unable to get the kill. Morphling, of course, only a stone's throw away.
And TongFu, again, they're doing okay. They're hanging in. I still feel like their CK is not getting the levels and the items, and the gold in particular, that he's going to need. He's just falling further and further behind in that regard, spending a lot of time shifting between lanes, and just not getting a hell of a lot out of it. And meanwhile, Morphling has basically just built a house and raised kids in top lane. He's been there so long. And it shows. I mean, he's at 100 last hits, coming up on 17, well, just past 17 and a half minutes. And we'll see what he decides to build. If he wants to build survivability, if he's going to go straight up for the Ethereal Blade. I would imagine Ethereal Blade, given their lead, is going to be their choice. Could have a team fight here, though. Animage with CK and Rubik in tow. And they are going to go ahead and try to move in on Faith. Faith making a run for the river. Morphling just going to hang around, trying to waveform away. 4-second Chaos Bolt. Off goes the Veno ulti. Just look how much it's taken to kill Morphling there. A lot of that courtesy, of course, of the Strength Morph, but still, at least they get him down. Make it 8-4, favoring Invictus Gaming still yet, but TongFu trying to close things up as much as they possibly can, but the goal graph still looking pretty one-sided.
TongFu manages to kill Morphling, but they lose Queen of Pain.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, we killed their carry, but we lost one of our pretty good mid-game heroes to boot. And this has actually been interesting. The Darkseer chose to get a mech. That's not something we normally see coming out of Darkseers. They just go for the mana, something like a Vanguard and a Pipe. Mech is not something that's super common, but
yep.
I guess considering the fact that IG didn't have a mech hero, this is probably a pretty good choice considering the fact that they wouldn't have gotten one elsewhere for quite a while. It's only 19 minutes into the game, and this Darkseer is actually the third highest on farm, very close to Invoker actually, for being tied for second. So I really feel like all the lanes from TongFu just didn't work out at all. Not even bottom lane. Yeah, I mean, they killed the Darkseer, what, 1 or 2 times in lane. He died after that when they ganked him, but that's just not enough, you know, considering the fact that Hao himself has died 3 times, and we might see another gank on this Animage, or at the very least some very, very annoying gank. Wow, that's a really good purge. He might still die. Yep,
Animage in some troubles. Got the Dreamcatcher up. The purge does some damage. Morphling a little late to the party, though. Going to allow him to get back to safety. But yeah, no, I agree with you completely. Everything IG set out to do has been accomplished, more or less, and it shows in every single way. Experience graph 5,000. Gold graph now up over 7,500. It's just going to be a tough road, man. It's just superior play out of IG is really the only way to put it. I mean, some mistakes have been made. Morphling takes a little bit of damage, manages the waveform back to safely. Chuan there to help him. But now Ferrari joins him as well. But, you know, there's been a few mistakes made by TongFu. But nothing completely untoward. Nothing 7,500 gold worthy. Instead, it's just been IG every time they've matched up in one way or another. IG has just had the edge, and it's taking them through to 20-minute mark now, 111. Last hits on Morphling, so he's certainly where he wants to be at this stage. Invoker right there with him, as is Darkseer. I think the Darkseer farm's really a story. I mean, you're going to have a solo lane Darkseer who was at one point up against the tri-lane, and he's going to get that much farm, and that's also owed to CK bailing out of that lane as much as he had. I think that might be the biggest mistake that's been made so far, is having that CK being active and getting a little out of it.
Well, TongFu felt obligated to make a reaction. I mean, they said, you know, we can't let anybody else get picked off, and we see Sand King doing some of his scouting over here just to see if they can get any kills. But, yeah, I mean, again, TongFu is the one who's always said to react to every single bit of aggression, and CK's farm isn't necessarily bad. He's actually 2-1 with 54 CS, but that's about half of what he should be.
Right.
And you can see everyone else on IG is over the 100 mark at this point. They're just getting completely out-farmed. They have 0 map control. They don't even have really any warding up. And right now, it's going to be up to IG to place aggressive wards. I mean, there's one on Shadow Demon right now. They could be putting one on top of the... Okay, they just placed one defensive ward. You can see it pinged out here by the Animage, which is a good ward spot if you don't want to die. I mean, that's a pretty good spot to put a ward. So we're going to see IG form up here and push top. And I don't know if TongFu has anything to stop this. I really don't.
Yeah, it's kind of getting to that point. Just want to point out, by the way, Morphling has more last hits than CK and Animage combined. That's a problem. That's always going to be a problem. And yeah, they're not even going to move out to challenge this. They know they can. Instead, they're just going to try and take towers elsewhere. Veno and Animage going to push mid. Tier 2 top does drop. Bottom tower still stands as well. And yeah, TP reactions. That's just a free tower, basically. There was nothing that could be done. And now with the good TP movement, nothing that can be done to follow it up for TongFu. Can't even punish the fact that 4 heroes committed completely to that top lane.
Well, Morphling. Try to gank here.
Yeah, Morphling. Just so far. Yeah, he's just gonna morph strength and ooh, Chaos Bolt gonna knock him out of the teleport. Just look how much it takes to try and bring it down. He is gonna be brought back. So Animage. I think Animage got the kill there. I'm actually not getting the little. Yeah, I'm definitely getting some server lag. The alerts on the side aren't even showing up for me at this point. That's okay. Still enjoying the cast, enjoying the broadcast. Make it 8-5, favoring IG, so they do get at least one more kill on the board. But, yeah, Gold Graph just kind of doesn't care. It's just going to continue to climb.
Well, we might see a killer in Darks here, which would definitely be a good thing. Oh, never mind. CK stunned a creep.
CK missing and stunning the creep. Here's the EMP. Burrow Strike going to catch Kabu. Kabu trying to make a run for it. Cold Snap keeps him relatively locked in place there. YYF. Wow, that was an ulti on mostly nothing. And, yeah, looks like Kabu actually is going to make it back to safety. But, Manta Style now complete on Morphling.
I'm a pains.
Oh, they didn't deny the Shadow Demon. That's strange. Shadow Demon just got ticked out by Shadow Strike damage, and no one bothered to deny him, I guess. I guess they're not a fan of their teammates. Maybe somebody's mad at somebody else. I don't know.
128 last hits, 124 and 122 for the three leaders on the side of IG. And Chaos Knight is basically frozen in that 40 to 50 range now. He's sitting on 55 last hits. He's been there for about the last 10 minutes, give or take. And that's, again, I think that's going to be the biggest source of their problem. All he has at this point is Bottle, Treads, Wand, and Drum. And that's just not enough. At this point, he needs to be well on his way to a BKB, and he just isn't. IG is going to go ahead and take this Tier 1 mid-tower. No opposition at all. Nothing that can be done about that. TongFu has closed the gap in terms of kills a bit. 8-6, but feels like it's just too little too late. There's just not a lot that's going to be done. When you've got an IG team that's this far ahead in farm, this far ahead in gold, this far ahead in levels, and with all the momentum in the world.
Well, I don't want to count TongFu out because, again, I've seen CK do some pretty ridiculous stuff. Yeah, he would like to have way more farm than he has. He should actually probably have his entire BKB considering the start. I mean, he was in a lane against one hero, and his farm just was never good. I never felt like, okay, that's a farm of a tri-lane CK. You know, you look at it, you have the same farm as the Morphling is sitting at 143, and yes, I know it's a range versus melee discrepancy here, and you are against a Darkseer, so it's annoying to see us, but that still doesn't mean you should be missing them. Yeah. So, in general, I just really feel like TongFu got out-laned.
Well, the problem is they basically just conceded that Animage was going to have a crap start. Hang on, we got action down here. Invoker in some trouble. Ferrari force-stashed himself away. Doesn't matter. 2-second Chaos Bolt followed by a Burrow Strike. Got to lock him in place in the woods, and he's going to drop. So, closer and closer to closing the gap in kills. Make it 7-8. They still trail by 1, but with Phantasm Pop, they should have no problem bringing the tower down. BKB is done on Queen of Pain, so that's a step in the right direction at the very least. Nothing but illusions left now. Chuan just going to go ahead and take what he can, but the rest of TongFu is pulled back. But yeah, back to what we were talking about. If they're just going to concede Animage having a horrible start at top, they can't go, well, okay, our Animage is going to suck, but we're going to have a tri-lane with CK, so it's fine, and then CK has 57 last hits at 25 minutes. That just doesn't work. It's not acceptable. Queen of Pain has done a solid job, 114, but still, she trails by 50 to Zhao. And it's just... I'm like you. You don't want to count him out. Anytime there's an Animage on the map, if they can just play defensive, turtle up, let him get his items, combine that with CK and what Rubik can bring to bear so far as stealing, especially like a Burrow Strike or even a Disruption Soul Catcher or something along those lines just to help his team out in an unexpected way, there's always a chance. But TongFu just really failed to execute early on, and IG has capitalized on it in a big way. And they're going to go ahead and move into the Tier 2 mid-tower. Venomous Gale's going to pound Zhao. There's a Surge and a Vacuum and a Burrow Strike on Sansheng. Got way too far forward, pops the mech, stays alive. There's a Chaos Bolt. Now TP reaction. Mu able to do a lot of damage to force this back. Still no one dead quite yet. Morphling morphing the strength. There's a good Tornado. EMP is going to connect. Chuan, Epicenter's nothing but a creep. And IG just going to go ahead and pull back. After all that action, only one death, and that was Venomancer, so I think both players, or both teams here, are feeling a little bit of lag. We're just seeing a lot of missed abilities, a lot of really odd engagements that, after having seen these teams play in other circumstances, you can't help but attribute to some sort of an outside factor.
It can be considered a little bit of lag for stuff like missing stuns and whatnot, but Epicenter is kind of a different ability. I mean, you have to have some sense of where the heroes are going to be. I mean, 1 second lag isn't going to make your epicenter just hit nothing but a range creep. That was definitely just a misplay. Maybe he thought that they were going to commit more than they did. And yeah, you can make mistakes like that. It's not really unheard of. But the mechanical stuff, like screaming nothing, burrow striking nothing, that could be attributed to lag, I would say.
Yep. All right, there's another tornado. EMP gonna be there. Gonna catch CK. No mana left for him. They are gonna take this tower. Pipe is popped. Looks like they won. There's another burrow. Oh, that's gonna catch too. Good vacuum as well. And TongFu on the run, pulling all the way back. Rubik's in some trouble. There's Queen of Pain, just not able to do enough damage quick enough. And this may be the moment IG's been looking for. They just break it open. Tower taken down. They add another kill as well. And now they actually are going to play a little bit passively. They're going to go ahead and pull back. Thought they might want to force the issue. They were at a heavy, heavy advantage. CK was actually now back up to full mana. But yeah, it's 10-7. Scoreboard doesn't quite tell the same story the gold graph does. 10,000 gold differential. That's probably going to go up a little bit more as the gold graph updates. IG in a commanding lead as we come up on 30 minutes now.
I really think that IG is still going to be in a dominant position as the game rolls on. Again, though, you can't count out a CK and an AM. They have a pretty decent base defense team. Phantasm's going to help them out quite a bit. But again, they're playing against a Darkseer, Epicenter, and a Tornado EMP Invoker, which does do a pretty good amount of AoE damage. So, I mean, IG has counters to what TongFu's bringing to the table in terms of the mid to late game. But I still feel like TongFu can kind of make it come back just a bit. The AM's actually up to 110 CS now, which isn't great, mind you, but he's catching up. Right. Considering the fact that CK, I don't think he's gotten a CS in the last 18 minutes of the game. I mean, he's been sitting at 57 for as long as I can remember. And without a BKB, like, he can't really get himself into team fights. It's really, really tough for him at this point in time. And I really don't know if, like you said, that movement early on just felt really unnecessary. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to get an advantage by having a tri-lane, don't throw it away by wasting your time sitting around in the jungle.
Yeah, that's exactly. I couldn't agree more. It's even if he got the kills, I don't feel like it would have justified it. Speaking of getting kills, 4-second Chaos Bolt sure going to go a long way in killing this Darkseer. Going to be sliced to bits up in the air as Rubik had a hold of it, but now the reaction out of IG. Oh, Hal runs right into Morphling. He's going to blink away, blinking down to the river. Oh, the waveform, the EMP, and Hal's going to drop. So they managed to trade a Darkseer for an Anti-Mage. Well, looks like they want to go ahead and pursue. Oh, yeah, they do. Sansheng is going to be caught. Just look at his health melt. And the thing is, they gave a lot of farm to Vino. A lot of levels that he wouldn't have had otherwise. It just doesn't matter. A lot of that, by the way, is owed to the fact that Shadow Demon did build a medallion, and he's been using it to great, great effect. Taking a lot of damage now from Vino's. Is he going to die? Nope. He is going to not be denied.
Morphling just solo killed the Queen of Pain without an Ethereal Blade. I don't even know how that happens.
Yeah, and it all comes down, again, not to belabor the point, but their laning phase was just foobar, for lack of a better way to put it. It looks like IG has picked the 30-minute mark as the mark where they want to try and end this game, playing ultra aggressive. And that's how you know one team feels extremely confident. When they have someone picked off, and then they go, oh, it's 4v5, let's go fight. And they chase him down. Speaking of, CK making a run for the high ground, looking for safety in the jungle, not going to find it. There's a good surge on. Oh, Invoker whiffs on the tornado. Doesn't matter, though. CK Hex down. That was the Hex of Ferrari 430. He has completed the Scythe of Ice. And, yeah, Awoke just kind of died. And again, another... It seems like such a simple thing. It's like, well, obviously, he got caught 3-on-1, 4-on-1, what have you, and he died. But you know where most of IG is heading. You know they're chasing that CK. Why were you anywhere near there when all they had to do was double back and travel half a screen to put another kill on the board? Don't know that it mattered, really. At this point, I don't think they could have challenged this Roche attempt anyway, especially with the medallion there. The big guy just melting so quick. They'll stick this on Morphling, and unless, barring some kind of a miracle, barring Rubik stealing an epicenter and landing the best epicenter of his life, we may see a GG if they decide to push here.
It's possible, man. I mean, TongFu is just so far behind at this stage. Over 12,000 gold. It's only 31 minutes into the game, and really no one has any high item, like high item, except for Mu, who has the the BKB. That's it. That's really all they have. I mean, a drum and an ogre club on the CK. The AM has a manta, but it's not like the manta makes him a threat to anyone. It's I don't know, man. I don't know if they're going to be able to stop this push, especially because the Darkseer's almost got level 3 ultimate, and he's going to be going for an Axiom 2, and Moo's dead.
Here we go. Moo going to be caught out. Pops the BKB. 4-second Chaos Bolt. TongFu fighting this. Morphling finally is going to arrive now. Lot of lag trying to keep up with the pipe is popped. There's going to be another Burrow Strike. Any mage survives for the moment, but if you look at the health bars, IG in much better shape. Epicenter hasn't been spent yet, so IG still has at least one major round in the cannon. We'll see if they decide to move in this direction. Looks like they may just go ahead and pull back. They were trying to split push there. They were sending Morphling through the bottom lane and use Replicate to get him back to where he wanted to be. But looks like he's just going to go farm. Yeah, tons of farm up on top. Happy to go farm, take whatever he can get, while the rest of the team grabs their items, heals up, and what have you, and they'll be ready to do it again here in just a few moments.
What I like about what IG decided there is the fact that they have a gem up on their Shadow Demon anyway, so it's not like TongFu's going to gain any map control by them falling back. If you look at the map right now, the only ward they have is an offensive ward, which is useless to them. I mean, they're not going to be looking to push that tier 2 bottom anyway, because they're the ones who are always on the defensive for this entire game. They have no outer 2 towers, and IG's only lost 1. They should have killed the Queen of Pain right there, but they didn't have Shadow Demon quite in a good position to get the Soul Catcher off. It was just a really, really awkward Hex positioning. So in terms of Queen of Pain not dying, you can actually be pretty thankful if you're in TongFu's shoes, because the AM and the Queen of Pain both get away with essentially no HP. Yep. But I don't think that IG is going to make an execution mistake like that 2 times in a row. They are kind of grouping up here like they want to push again, so Morphling picks up his Scotty on top of that, and man, that Morphling is just going to be so tough to deal with in itself. And you have Darkseer with level 3 wall now. I don't envy TongFu's position at all.
Yep, it looks like they're not going to try anything too cute this time around. Just going to group up, push mid. Good old-fashioned style. Let's see if they got it in them. Morphling joins with his team. And there's the vacuum, catches nothing, basically. Manta popped on Morphling. Off goes the Glyph. There's a Tornado, only going to catch 1. EMP is out. Everyone should be able to get clear of it, and they do. They're just banging on the tower. There's a Venomous Gale that's going to catch 2. Ferrari and Zhao. Decent amount of damage being done. Morphling. Got to get tankier and tankier as the fight. There's a 4-second Chaos Bolt on Morphling. There's a vacuum. In comes everyone. Off goes the pipe as well. Morphling giving chase. Is going to be able to shotgun down Veno. He's going to be picked up. Rubik buying what time he can. Darkseer wall is down as well. Zhao in some trouble. He still has the Aegis, though. Continues to morph the strength and still doing massive damage even with the strength morph. Tornado is going to catch Rubik. Rubik not quite going to die. Sand King going to get another kill as well. Still hasn't spent his Epicenter, by the way. Still has that.
Oh, Woke.
Shadow Demon able to pick off a Woke. And
he died to the replicates of the Anti-Mage.
Ouch. And yeah, there's a Hex, a Burrow Strike. Oh, yep. There goes the rest of TongFu. Queen of Pain is going to actually manages to blink to safety. Thought she was done for sure. Disruption on Anti-Mage once again. Sand King still has not spit the Epicenter. Has it waiting and ready whenever he wants it. And that's when you know you're in some trouble. And one of the biggest abilities on the other team doesn't even have to be spent to take down your racks. It's problematic. Pipe up once again. Looks like YYF and Ferrari just going to focus on the melee racks. They do manage to get it. We'll see how much more IG wants or if they just want to pull back. Age is still up on Morphling. He's morphed almost entirely to strength at this point. And here we go. There goes the Epicenter, and just look at TongFu melt. Continuing to do good damage. 2-second Chaos Bolt. Not quite enough to get the kill. Ferrari in a bit of trouble now, though. Reality Rift going to bring him down. So TongFu comes charging back out and manages to pick up a kill or 2. But Sand King able to Burrow Strike his way into the woods to get back to safety. 18-10 as the dust settles. TongFu almost doubled up by their opponents, and the loss of a melee Rax. Not good news.
Well, the thing that kind of I questioned in that team fight for TongFu is, like, they waited for their base tower to die before they engaged.
Yep.
Like, if you're going to chase them out of the base, at the very least, you don't have to, like, pursue them too crazy. I mean, yeah, they're going to get a tower here. Queen of Pain picks up the tower kill gold, so that's good for them. But they waited for the tower to die, then engaged. I mean, for crying out loud, the Queen of Pain had to ult nothing but Manta illusions and replicates of the freaking Morphling to make sure the tower didn't die that fast.
Right.
But they still didn't even defend it. Like, if you're not going to fight for your base, what are you going to fight for?
Yeah.
You know, like, that's the last line of defense you have. You have to defend your third tier tower or your Rax is exposed. And then as soon as the Rax got exposed, they had to have known Sand King had a blink. He's had it for the past, I don't know, 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
He had a pretty darn fast blink. So with that being said, you knew that IG was going to want to go after that. And they kind of just stood there and let it happen. I'm just really baffled by the decision-making from TongFu this game.
Yeah, from beginning to end, it's really been kind of questionable. And you hate to second-guess a team of this caliber, but there comes a point where you just got to say, you know what? It doesn't take a super high level player to know that if you have 2 carries, you can't afford for both of them to. You can't. I mean, I had the camera on that. He was just so dead. There was no reason to even call it out. But you can't afford to have your 2 main carries. One especially that's supposed to carry you through the mid game when Morphling's going to be really hitting his stride. You can't afford for both of them combined to have less CS than the Morphling. You just can't. And unfortunately, we see why now. IG, 19-10, the lead now. Nearly doubling up their opponents now. We're even going to have a buyback from Chaos Knight. That's gold he couldn't afford to spend. But I guess if the choice is another Rax and the loss of the game or trying to buy back and buy yourself some time, you got to reach down deep and go to the credit. And this is, I mean, IG is just in such control right now. And TongFu knows it. They can't even really charge. They have to wait until the perfect opening to even have a chance to force IG out. And more.
Well, at this,
go ahead.
I was gonna say at this stage of the game, I think it's gonna be too little, too late. I mean,
yeah.
The CK has literally gotten 11 CS in the past 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 1 CS a minute. That's pretty much unacceptable levels of farm, I would say. And this is actually really cool stuff coming out from IG as we see CK gonna get picked off for the 2nd time.
He's going to drop Queen of Pain, pops the BKB, just taking so much damage. Little bit of save your buddy syndrome. Actually, she does manage to make it back, but Morphling just doesn't care. Waveforms in, manages a shotgunner down, 1v3 at this point. Looks like he may drop for his trouble. No, Morphing strength more than enough to keep him alive for the moment. Darkseer walls down as well. Yeah, and IG showing just how big their lead happens to be. Charging past the Ancient, diving the well. 3 down, Sand King did drop in the midst of all that. But again, it really just doesn't matter. They're going to take at least one. Yep, there it is. The GG go next, calls Chuan. And IG, winning the laning phase in every measurable way, allows that to carry them to a victory just short of 40 minutes. It was about 21-11, I think, before the...
22, yeah, 21-11, you're right.
Right about the time the GGs were called. And just as... This is... what I would call, this was one-sided in a way that's very different from most one-sided games. Like, usually when you see a game that you would call one-sided, just a total stomp beginning to end, this was not a 100% total stomp. This was 2 high-level teams, one of which just flat-out won every aspect of the game, not as in they piled up 55 kills to 10, but because they just capitalized and took every single advantage that was given to them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean... I'm looking at TongFu's lineup and I'm going, okay, I could see the Anti-Mage pick here making sense if the Darkseer was top. If they let him move, maybe, and they put the tri-lane versus tri-lane, at the very least you wouldn't have had 2 quick deaths on How, because the tri-lane wasn't going to rotate from top all the way to bottom lane just to kill the AM. They're not going to smoke up and do that. They probably would have smoked on mid once like they did, see that it wasn't going to work and go back to their lane and try to kind of get an advantage by having the Morphling farm. And I just don't see any good things coming out of the laning phase for TongFu that game. And I mean, yeah, hindsight's 20/20, but just looking at it on paper, we were both kind of like, okay, well, the AM's obviously not going to farm. CK's farm was okay, but he got out-farmed by a Darkseer who is in a 1v3, who, by the way, had the 2nd highest CS in the game. So for this game, he's going to be my MVP. I mean, he bought all the team items that he needed. He had the pipe and the mech up for 25 minutes when he was in a lane where he should have had no business getting any farm. You can deny Ion Shell very easily. There is no excuse for him having the farm that he had this game.
No, I agree 100%. I say Darkseer. For me, it's up in the air. Darkseer or Shadow Demon. I'm just going to go ahead and agree with you. Make it unanimous. YYF, our MVP. Turning point, no doubt about it. Chaos Knight struggling in the tri-lane when he should have won handily. I'm AC, that's Draskell. Game number 1's in the books. We're going to see TongFu moving into game number 2, looking to force a third game. We'll see if IG's up to the task of sweeping in the first meeting of these two teams here in Monthly Madness Asia Round of 8. Stick with us.